news networks officially called Georgia for Joe Biden, bringing the final electoral college vote to 306 to 232, the exact count that Donald Trump won by in 2016, which basically means that Trump is the Hillary Clinton of this election. Lock me up! Lock me up! But many of Trump's biggest fans are refusing to accept that their man has lost. And over the weekend, they hit the streets in D.C. to make their case.
While Trump vows to keep waging his uphill legal battle against the results, thousands of his supporters this weekend flooded the streets of the Capitol.
The demonstrators rallying behind a president who has refused to concede an election he lost. The largely maskless crowd echoing his baseless claims about widespread voter fraud, chanting, "This isn't over."
Look, this isn't over. It's not even close to being over.
Joe Biden! Joe Biden!
Far-right groups like the Proud Boys, linked to white supremacy and violence, made themselves visible at Saturday's event.
Wow, guys, this is so strange. Why does the not white supremacist president have all these white supremacists coming out to support him? It's so weird. Also, it's interesting how now all the Trump supporters are suddenly okay with protesting and blocking traffic. How quickly their attitudes have changed. I bet we're only 3 months away from them kneeling at football games like, "I will not stand for the anthem of a country that does not support my MAGA-ness." I actually feel bad for a lot of the people here. I feel bad for the people who've been brainwashed into thinking that Biden didn't win. I feel bad for the people who got hurt in the violence that broke out. And most of all, I feel bad for whoever's U-Haul this is. That has got to be the worst moving day of all time. Because you know that guy was like, "All right, I'll get up really early, pack up quick, it's the weekend so there won't be any traffic." Ah! And it's really no surprise that Trump's supporters aren't admitting defeat, because the truth is they're just taking their lead from the man himself.
President Trump spent this Sunday golfing and tweeting up a storm. Early this morning, writing this about President-elect Joe Biden. He won because the election was rigged. Critics and even some Republican supporters took that to mean that Mr. Trump was finally admitting that he had lost. But the president soon followed up with another tweet stating he, Biden, only won in the eyes of the fake news media. I concede nothing.
Last night, the president tweeted, "I won the election," even though he is behind by more than 5.5 million votes. Twitter quickly flagged Mr. Trump's claim, noting official sources called this election differently.
I will say, man, for all the talk about Trump being an aspiring dictator, this is some weak shit. Like, now is the time he should be taking over all the state capitals, installing new governors, arresting opposition leaders, doing all of that. Instead, he's just sitting at home trying to manifest a win on Twitter like a little bitch. "I won. Send." Did that work? Okay. How about "I am the winner"? Send. No? Okay, how about "I lost. Not"? That should do it. That's the one. I mean, the dude is spreading so much misinformation, even Twitter has had it with Trump. Also, if Donald Trump truly believed any of this nonsense, best believe he wouldn't be golfing, right? If you are truly fighting against wrongdoing and corruption, you generally don't find the time to squeeze in a game of golf. Nelson Mandela was never like, "We must fight to change the system. We must fight against racism and oppression. But first, Daddy needs to work on his short game." Although at this point, I feel like Trump will always find time for golf no matter what is happening. He could be running away from a bear and he'd still be like, "The bear's gonna kill me. The bear's gonna kill." Okay, hold on. Keep your knees bent. Remember, the screen is fast. The bear. So, Donald Trump is saying that he won the election. His supporters are saying that he won the election. But meanwhile, Trump's lawyers are slowly moonwalking away. Am I out of frame?
President Trump facing a new setback in his legal challenges to the election. The Trump campaign is abandoning a major part of his legal challenge to votes in Pennsylvania. The campaign is dropping its claim that officials unlawfully blocked observers from watching ballot counting in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Today, the president's lawyers dropped their lawsuit in Arizona, admitting it would not change enough votes to matter.
In a Pennsylvania lawsuit, a judge asked Trump's attorney, "Are you claiming that there is any fraud in connection with these disputed ballots?" The Trump attorney admitted, No.
On Friday, a top lawyer at Jones Day, which has represented Mr. Trump's campaigns for more than 4 years, told colleagues during a video conference call that Jones Day would not get involved in additional litigation in this election.
Damn, Donald, you're losing court cases all over the place. It's almost like a miracle. You know, he took one election loss and turned it into 1,000 more losses. Yeah, it's exactly like a miracle, but for losers. I mean, think about it. He's the first president of the United States that lawyers don't want to represent. And lawyers will represent anybody. If you slipped and fell 3 blocks away from a Walmart, you'll find a lawyer who'll be like, we gotta sue that Walmart. You got a case. But Trump is the president. And they're like, come on, man, don't get me involved in your bullshit, man. And the best part is how these lawsuits are slowly whittling down to nothing from where they started. Because when it kicked off, Trump's lawyers were like, Your Honor, this election was rigged. And then it was like, okay, the election wasn't rigged, but they didn't let us observe it. Okay, they let us observe the election, but not as closely as we wanted. Okay, none of that is true, but can we all agree that the word election is weird? Yeah, it's weird, right? Election. Sounds weird, right? We can agree on that. So look, man, Trump can say what he wants. And his supporters can also say what they want, but his lawyers clearly know the truth. And the truth is that Trump lost the election, and not because of any voter fraud, because people voted. And on January 20th, he's gonna have to move out of the White House. The good news for Trump is there's a guy with a U-Haul who's probably still gonna be out there, and he can help him move.